ஜெபநிலம்.
Good morning students, how are you all? All right, okay, I am teaching today class 5 social studies first lesson. Already I have written the heading of our lesson. Can any one of you tell me what is the heading today, what we are going to learn? All right, let us see. Today we are going to learn about tracing our story. Tracing, for example, can you trace your story and your parents' story? Can you trace your story and your parents' story? Can you trace? Is it possible for you to trace? So, like that only, to trace our story, our human beings' story, it is a long drawn process. So, now for example, you are there. Who is your father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, great-grandfather, great-grandmother? From where did they born? So, all this we are going to focus today. Okay? So, when we go back around 2,500 years or else 2.4 million years ago, 2.4 million years ago, there was an evolution of human beings. There was a evolution of human beings. In this lesson, we are going to focus evolution of human beings or human evolution, the stages of early human evolution, and after that, we are going to learn about primary evidences of the history. Okay, we are going to learn about the evidences afterwards. So now let us study about the first topic. Where did the human beings evolved? Where did the human beings evolved? Can any one of you tell me? Many of you say that the man was born from the monkey, man was born from the gorilla. We say like that, but as far as the Bible is concerned, Bible says that the human beings were created by the Jesus Christ with the help of mud. But our science, our social says that man was born from monkey, from gorilla. Okay, so the first and early human was appeared to be as called as a apes. Okay, the first early human was appeared to be called as a apes, and he was appeared in African continent, in Africa. The first early human was able to appear in Africa. Okay, we call that particular as a apes. Apes means what? Standing on 2 feet, walking on 2 legs. Can we walk with 1 leg? Is it possible to walk with 1 leg? No. Apes began to walk with 2 legs, but it was bending and walking. There is no straightforward, bending and walking. So in such a way, human beings were evolved in Africa around 1.2 2.4 million years ago. Shall we compare that life and today's life? Children, can we compare the life of the apes and today our life? Today we are having food. Today we are wearing nice dress. Nice dress we are wearing. We are communicating. We are having good transportation facilities. We are having the best food to eat, isn't it? So when we go back to the 2.4 million years ago, there is no proper food. There are no clothes to wear. Okay, there is no transportation facilities. Nothing. Understood? That is the difference between the ancient time and modern time. So we have compared the ancient time and modern time. Walking on both the feet is called as apes. Next one is Homo erectus. What do you mean by Homo erectus? Homo erect means what? Straight. Straight. Backbone should be straight, up straight, walking straight. That is called Homo erectus. The backbone will be straight, upright, walking. They are having well developed brains are there. They were able to understand the surrounding areas, climatical changes, everything they were able to understand. That is called Homo erectus. They are having well developed brain. They are walking straight forward. Backbone was straight and they are walking. Even though they are having well developed brain, but they don't have written records. Keep this point in the mind. Even though they are having well developed brains, but they don't have what? No written records. When a history is having no written records, we call it as a prehistory. What do we call that? We call it as a prehistory. When no written records are available, we call it as a prehistory. Okay, so prehistory was divided into so many parts. First, let us learn about Stone Age. You know what do you mean by Stone Age? We call Stone Age just because the people who lived, or the Homo erectus who lived around 2.4 million years ago, in those days, we can understand very clearly, they used only the stone tools. Stone tools were used. That's why what all the equipments were used by the Homo erectus in olden days during the Stone Age time, they used only the stone tools. Hence, we call that period as a Stone Age. Clear? Close your eyes and just keep it in your mind. What do we call Stone Age? Stone Age means the people who lived around 2.4 million years ago, they used stone tools, or the equipments or the instruments which are made are with the help of stones. That's why we call it as a Stone Age. Clear? Stone Age means the items which were made up of Stone Age. The items which were made, or the instruments which are made up of stones are called as Stone Age. That's why we call it as a Stone Age. The period starts from 2 million years. 2 million years onwards, Stone Age started. This Stone Age, further, it was divided into 4 stages or 4 parts. This Stone Age were further divided into 4 parts or 4 stages. What is the first stage? Paleolithic Age. Repeat once. Paleolithic Age is called as Old Stone Age. What do you mean by that? Paleolithic Age is called as Old Stone Age. The second one is Mesolithic Age, is called as Middle Stone Age. Neolithic Age means what? New Stone Age. And Chalcolithic Age is called as Newer Old Age. So all these are the different types of stages which were there in the Stone Age. So let us try to revise the first about Paleolithic Age. What is the period of the Paleolithic Age? Paleolithic Age starts from 2.4 million years ago to 10,000 BCE. Next one, Mesolithic Age starts from 10,000 BCE to 8,000 BCE. Next one is Neolithic Age, is Newer Stone Age, starts from 8000 BCE to 2000 BCE. Before this Neolithic Age could be discovered, another important age is there, that is called as Chalcolithic Age. Chalcolithic Age was introduced in 3500 BCE to 2000 BCE. These are the stages, or these are the Stone Age subdivisions. Let us first study about first one, that is Paleolithic Age. Let us study about the first one, that is Paleolithic Age. What do you mean by Paleolithic Age? What do we find in Paleolithic Age? The Old Stone Age is called as Paleolithic Age. In Paleolithic Age, people were called as nomads, and they were called as scavengers, and they were called as hunters and gatherers. Everywhere you find here, you can see clearly, everywhere there is a ice cover. There is no proper vegetation to do. Everywhere there is a ice cover. No land to cultivate any kind of crops. There is no proper food for them to eat. They used to move from one place to another place. If a person is moving from one place to another place in search of food, we call it as a nomads. Very important point, children. Underline in your textbook. Nomads. What do you mean by nomads? Nomads means if a person is moving from one place to another place in search of food, we call it as a nomads. Tell me now, what do you mean by nomads? Nomads means if a person is moving from one place to another place in search of food, we call it as a nomads. That is the first point in Paleolithic Age. The second one is hunters and scavengers. What do you mean by scavengers? Scavengers means feeding on dead plants and animals. So in olden days, during the time of Paleolithic Age, around 2.4 million years ago, human beings in those days were called as scavengers. They were feeding on dead plants and animals. They used to eat the decaying matter of the animals. They used to eat the raw food. No proper cultivation, no proper food available, no. That's why they eat raw food. That is called scavengers. Then what do you mean by hunters and gatherers? They used to, as we all know that Stone Age tools were made up of stones, no. With the help of stones, they used to kill the animals and they ate. That's why we call it as a hunters and gatherers. Understood? One of the major important point that we have to discover or we have to discuss in Paleolithic Age is discovery of fire. We know that olden days humans, they took the two stones, they rubbed together and they introduced the fire. One of the greatest achievement of Paleolithic Age is discovery of fire. Okay, everywhere there is the ice, and they were able to discover the fire. They were called as hunters and gatherers, and they were called as scavengers, and they were called as nomads. Clear? If anybody asks you to tell about Paleolithic age, during the Paleolithic age, people were nomads. Means moved from one place to another place in search of food. Second point, scavengers means during the Paleolithic age, scavengers means people feeding on dead plants and animals. They were scavengers, hunters and gatherers, killing the animals they used to eat, move from one place to another place, and everywhere there is a ice. If anybody asks you to tell about what do you mean by Paleolithic age, you should close your eyes and tell very fast. Nomads, scavengers, hunters and gatherers. Is it clear, students, about the Paleolithic age? What is the period of Paleolithic age? The period of Paleolithic age is 2.4 million years ago. From there till 10,000 BCE is called as Paleolithic age. I hope it is very clear, children. Let us go for the next topic, that is Mesolithic age. What do we call Mesolithic age? Mesolithic age is also called as what? Microliths age. Why do we call it as a microlith age? Means in the Mesolithic age, one of the major achievement of the people is microliths, means tiny stone tools. Tiny stone tools are called as microliths. Children, underline in your book, this is very important point. In Mesolithic age, microliths is one of the major achievement, and slowly melting started taking place. When slowly melting started taking place, practice of farming started. Understood, children? When the ice slowly started melting, practice of farming started taking place. So, if anybody asks you to tell about Mesolithic age, you can say, during the Mesolithic age, there were continued to be hunters and gatherers. First point. During the Mesolithic age, there were continued to be hunters and gatherers. The next point is, they started the practice of farming. Farming started. You can tell in any words, there should be a meaning, that's all. There should be a concept, there should be a meaning, you can tell in your own words. Practice of farming started or farming started, anything is okay, simple. And the third one is, no more they were called as nomads. So, when the practice of farming started, they no need to move from one place to another place, no. Even though they were hunters and gatherers, but they no need to move from one place to another place in search of food. That's why we call it as a no more called nomads. They were no more. Who are no more called nomads? During the Mesolithic age, people were called no more nomads. They introduced microliths. What do you mean by microliths? Microliths means stone tools. Tiny stone tools are called as microliths. One of the greater achievement during the time of Mesolithic age is microliths were introduced. Okay. So, what is the period of Mesolithic age? 10,000 BCE to 8,000 BCE. Students understood? 10,000 BCE to 8,000 BCE. This is a period of time where Mesolithic age was introduced. Melting started taking place. They were continued to be hunters and gatherers. Practice of farming started. No more they were called as nomads, and microliths were introduced. Tiny stone tools were introduced there. Okay? This is all about Mesolithic age. When they ask you to tell about Mesolithic age, you can identify and tell very easily. This is about Mesolithic age. Is it clear? Right. Let us study about the next one, Neolithic age. Neolithic age, it starts from 8000 BCE to 2000 BCE. Neolithic age starts from 8000 BCE to 2000 BCE. So, what are the major achievements that took place in Neolithic age? Farming started extraordinarily. Keep this point in the mind. This is New Stone Age. Neolithic age is called as New Stone Age. So, in the New Stone Age, people began to have a settled life. You know what is the difference between settled life and other sedimentary life and nomads? Sedentary life means having settled life. Nomads means moving from one place to another place. So, tell me now, during the Neolithic age, people were lived like a nomads, or they lived a settled life? Can any one of you try? Yes. People during the Neolithic age lived a settled life. During the Neolithic age, people lived a settled life, no more called as hunters and gatherers. They were no more called as hunters and gatherers, no more called as nomads. Vegetation started here. When farming continued, vegetation started. They started having a settled life, staying in one place, clearing the agricultural patches, cultivating the crops, doing the agricultural activities, eating the food. Everything began to be developed in Neolithic age. The next one in this is they started domestication of animals. Domestication of animals means rearing of animals, buffaloes, cows, animals. They started rearing the animals and they started getting milk, curd, buttermilk, cheese, what all the products that they can from get the animals, they started getting that. Okay, they started having settled life, pet animals were there and domestication of animals were there. Farming started, they had a settled life, they were no more called as nomads and hunter-gatherers. So, Neolithic age is also called as New Stone Age. Here, settled life, domestication of animals, no more called as hunters or gatherers and nomads. Okay, farming continued. So, from the position of Paleolithic age till to the position of Neolithic age, they lived a settled life. No need to move, no need to hurry up. Cultivation started, everything began to be developed in Mesolithic age. Neolithic age. Okay, next one. Last but not the least one here is Chalcolithic age. What is the major achievement in the Chalcolithic age? So all this, they were not called as hunters and gatherers, vegetation started, settled life, domestication of animals, everything began to be developed as usual. But major achievement during the time of Chalcolithic age is they were able to use a metal which is called as copper. Copper began to be used widely. So advanced development started taking place in Chalcolithic age. So that is copper was introduced. Copper was used. All the instruments, agricultural instruments, equipments for what all they want, they started making with the help of copper. That is a major achievement. Cultivation continued. Farming continued. Domestication of animals continued. Okay. We call this Chalcolithic age as a later Neolithic age. Okay. So what is the period of Chalcolithic age? 3500 BCE to 2500 BCE. That is the period of Chalcolithic age. So students, here I think it is very clear. All these are the tracing our story. We are tracing our story from the position of nomads. Today we were able to cultivate the food what we want. That is a major achievement, major change that we have to identify. In nomads, no dress, no clothes, nothing, no food. So from the position of Paleolithic age till to the position of Neolithic age, there was advanced development. People were able to change, their ideas were changed, their dressing styles were changed, the food they changed, everything. So in Neolithic age, they even started constructing their houses. Here, during the Mesolithic age, they also constructed their houses with the help of covering with the skin, animals of the skin. But whereas in Neolithic age, they started constructing their houses with the wood. So they have a well settled life. Here also settled life, but major achievement is copper was used in this period. This is what about tracing our story. So from the position of apes, we came to a position where we can grow our food, our habits, everything. So this is about how do we trace. So as there is no another important point here is sources and evidence. 1 minute students, let us study about sources and evidence. Last point. How many types of sources are there? There are two types of sources are there. There are two types of sources. What are they? First one is primary source. Primary source. Primary sources. Second one is secondary source. Primary sources and secondary sources. If we learn these two, our chapter will complete. What do you mean by primary source? Primary source means direct evidence. Directly we are seeing that. Direct evidence or first-hand information. Direct evidence, first-hand information about a person, about a place, about a society, about what all they want. When we see directly, when we have a direct view over an area, we call it as a primary source. Understood? Is it clear? Direct evidence, okay, or else first-hand information about a person, place, society or event, whatever it may be. When we first experience directly, that is called primary source. This is a very important point. Many of you might be asking, what do you mean by primary source? Primary source means if there is a direct evidence, directly first hand information, we call it as a primary source. What are the examples of primary source? For example, Taj Mahal. What do we call Taj Mahal? Taj Mahal is a monument. Examples are monuments, manuscripts, and etc. Okay, inscriptions, and so many are there, inscriptions. So all these are what? Primary source. Is it clear? Artifacts. Okay, here monuments, manuscripts, inscriptions, artifacts, and etc. All this called as primary source. When we experience directly, we call it as a primary source. Direct evidence. What is primary source? It's a direct evidence. First hand information about a person, about a place, about a thing, whatever it may be. That is called primary source. Coming to the secondary source. Secondary source is created from the primary source. What is that? Secondary source is created from the primary source. Is it clear? So here we can understand clearly, secondary source is created when the event is already happened. When the event is already happened, then we call it as a secondary source. For example, let us take newspapers. Newspapers is not a first hand evidence. Next one, articles are there. In the newspaper we see articles, and sometimes we can see magazine books are there. Magazines, and the next one, journals are there. Okay, etc. So many other informations are there. So secondary source, for example, newspaper. The person who take the interview of a person, who directly have a contact with the person, he is called primary source. Whatever the matter he prepared and came as a print media, as a newspaper, is called secondary source. Articles, what all has written in olden days, today we were able to see. Secondary source. And magazine books, about a person or about an event, they will write a magazine book. So this magazine book is a secondary source because we didn't write that magazine book. The person who wrote that magazine is a primary source, means direct evidence. Next one is journals, the same thing. When we try to interview a person directly and find out the information, that is called primary source. The matter what we written and gave in the form of a print, that is called a secondary source. That's enough. Is it clear? Who are the evidences for a primary source? Means archaeologists, historians. Archaeologists, historians, they dug the earth, they find the skeleton. With the help of that skeleton, slowly they try to figure out and write the information. The person who find that is called as a primary source. The matter what he wrote in the form of newspapers, articles, magazines is called secondary source. Is it clear? Is it clear? Primary source and secondary source. Primary source means direct evidence. Directly we are seeing that. Secondary source means information. Secondary source is created from the primary source. When the event is completed, or when the event happened, secondary source will be there. Is it clear, students, all of you? Is it clear for all the students? Primary source, direct evidence. Secondary source created from the primary source. That's all. Examples. These, to study the history and to know or trace more about our history, we need some evidences. Those evidences are in the form of primary source and secondary source. Is it clear? So students, today we had completed our lesson successfully. We have traced our story from the beginning of apes, from the beginning of Paleolithic age. We were able to have a better dress. Already we have comparing ancient and modern time. Ancient and modern time we have compared. So here we can understand clearly how all these situations took place. Is it clear? We studied about Stone Age, Paleolithic age, Mesolithic age, Neolithic age, Chalcolithic age. All these are different types. Paleo, discovery of fire, nomads, scavengers, hunter-gatherers. Meso, microlith, cultivation. Farming started, slowly melting of ice started. Neo, cultivation started, okay, development, settled life, everything. And Chalco, microliths were introduced. Chalcolithic age, copper was brought into working, and all the people began to use the copper. That is about the tracing our story, and this is about our evidences. Okay, so okay students, once go through the book, see this clearly, you can understand very easily in simple terms. Thank you students. See you tomorrow again in the class.